are here today with Mr. Detterline to complete an interview for our website design topic. Let's start the interview. In your opinion, what is the most important part of privatization and exploration in relation to Mars and the solar system?
Most important part of privatization and exploration in relation to Mars and the solar system. We have companies now like Boeing and SpaceX who are really good at sending things into space. And they've really made some great progress. Remember the old days we used to take a rocket and send it up into space, and the rocket fell into the ocean and that was it, right? Then the shuttle took up 2 rockets, and then we would pick them up and bring them back and clean them out and reuse them, at least parts of it. SpaceX said the most expensive part about going into space is the rocket. So let's save the rocket. Forget the capsule, save the rocket. So now they have rockets that go up, and then when it's done, it actually comes back and lands back on the launch pad. They clean it out and reuse the whole thing. Or if you want to get a high orbit, they send it all the way out, and it actually has it land on a raft that's moving in the ocean, and then it brings it back home. And they've done this. That's phenomenal. NASA's never been able to do that. And we've seen this. And Congress looks at it and says, let them spend the money. Why not? Let them get the profits, let them have the patents, let them spend the money, and then we can use our money to do something else, but we can all work together for the same goal. Mars. Weird planet. You know, half the stuff we send there crashes. It really does. It never makes it down to the surface. We've been really fortunate to have lots of good things, but even the last mission that just went up with Russia and Europe crashed, didn't make it to the surface. And these are getting bigger, about the size of an automobile. But we need to land things like the size of a house. And as Elon Musk says from SpaceX, you know, 2023, I think I'm going to land a big habitat house, apartment building on Mars. And Congress says, cool, good, then we don't have to spend the money to develop that. You go do it, you figure it out, you keep your patents and do that. And when you get it figured out, we'll use that. We'll be able to utilize those things. It's going to have to be a partnership. And I think that's a really good, positive thing, because it'll get more businesses involved, and it's really going to help out more people in the long run.
Oh, okay. What do you think are the top 3 most important career fields developing or existing in aeronautics?
Aeronautical engineers are going to be really super important. Figuring out how rockets work and doing all those kinds of things. Matter of fact, they are working on a rocket engine they just tested on March 23rd. They put this controller unit in. I think the guy got the idea from an automobile. And basically, from the cockpit, you can control the engines to make it more efficient. We don't have a rocket that can take people outside Earth orbit. We haven't had that since Apollo went to the moon. Russia has one, China has one, we don't. We couldn't take anybody to the moon or Mars if we wanted to without using somebody else's rocket. Now with this, it'll be the most powerful rocket in the world. And those are the guys who are going to be designing it. That's a really big, important job for them. So that's kind of cool, and that's coming up. We're doing that. Robotics. Oh my gosh. Everything is going to be robotics and computer programming and that sort of thing. Robots are critical. Even when people go out there, we're still going to need robots. Hey, go look underneath the hab, will you, and see what's happening under there. And the car goes under there with cameras and shows us what's going on. And really weird places are, it looks like a horrible environment. Go send a robot into there. That type of thing, and show us what's going on. Mechanical arms, those kinds of things, virtual reality. All that stuff is really going to be helpful to help save human lives and really give us more input as to what's happening in space. So those are 2 huge fields that are going to be out there. Anything really with engineering is really going to be a big part. You're going to have people to test fly these things. So pilots for that as well.
All right. What are the negative and positive economical and environmental impacts for exploring Mars?
Negative and positive economical, environmental impacts. You know, I think of Mars, and one of the big things that always comes up is, should we change Mars? And this gets really weird. We made a treaty in 1967 that said we're not allowed to disturb somebody else's planet. You ready? We think there's life on Mars, okay? We want to find it. But we're not allowed to look in the places where we think it'll be, because we might disturb it. Does that make any sense? So it's kind of like, we think there could be life on Earth, but let's look in the middle of the Gobi Desert, all right? Away from any populated areas to see if we can find it, because we don't want to disturb anything. Every time you land, you're disturbing something. We disturb the environment of the Earth constantly. Anything we do has an environmental impact. Whether you're putting up robots, whether you're putting up humans. No, there is no way you're going to be able to drill down into the water to look for life without disturbing that water and contaminating it. You just can't do it. But it doesn't mean that you can't find it. So there is that fine line. Even with the Earth, we're trying to find that balance between what's good for humans and what's good for the environment. We have to look at that at other worlds too. But anything we do is going to have some type of impact, and there's just no way to get around that. You can't.
As told in our research, NASA is planning on making many more space vehicles, probes, to discover more about Mars and the solar system. What do you think this will impact when exploring Mars and the solar system?
Oh, the more vehicles we have, the better off we're going to be. If we can get out there faster, that would be better. That's always a good thing. Just to get us out there as a spacefaring nation, to be able to get out to other worlds would be great. Now, this new rocket that we have will fit on the Orion spacecraft, which we've developed. We had the test flight for that 2 years ago. It was perfect. Nobody was on it, totally robotic. The thing went up, came down. My gosh, it fit the computer simulation so great. Nothing went wrong. That's it. We didn't do anything then. It's like quiet. It's like fantastic. Everything worked perfectly, and now let's do nothing for the next 2 years. Like, how does that work? So we need to get out there. Anybody riding in this thing? Oh no, we don't want to do that. We don't put people in. It was perfect, but we don't want to take any more robotic test flights because the first one was perfect. We're not putting people in because we're not set to do that. Bill 442 that the president just signed now says he wants NASA to go to Mars. Wow. You know, that's the first direct thing we've ever had from the president to NASA in well over 20 years. They've never had a direct statement, here's the purpose of what I want you to do. Otherwise, just develop some stuff. But there wasn't any real direct way to do things. Getting spacecraft, we're now working on these rockets for this huge giant thing that will take us out further into space. That's step one. Building vehicles that can operate on Mars and the moon and those things, step two. And eventually, we'll get out there. It'll be fun. This can only help us.
Where do you think the privatization of the space program will go from here?
Straight up. Can only get better. It's really good because SpaceX seems to be in the lead, but Boeing's pretty quiet about things, and they're doing really well. And then we've got other companies as well. And as long as these companies are competing with each other, that's the best part. We've got somebody who's going out to the moon. I thought it was this year, but I think it's next. Landing a rover onto the moon, and it's a private company. They're going to get this prize. If the rover can drive like the length of the school building and pick up a rock from some private company, then they win X millions of dollars to do this. And they found a really unique, innovative way to get to the moon cheaply with small things. You couldn't put people on it. But that's the kind of thing that privatization will do. Those are the patents that are really going to propel us forward. The more we get businesses working together in space and thinking about that, the more we're thinking outside the box. And then the new products come in that are going to help our lives back here on Earth. I mean, you think about it. Why do we go? What do we get from it? Well, a lot of things. And it really comes down to spin-offs. If you're making a Mars hat, think of the insulation, because the average temperature is 60 below zero. We can use that in our homes here on Earth. See, exploration is all about leaving, but it's also about coming back home with new ideas and new products that are going to improve our lives. That's why it's important. That's what makes it really good.
Why do you think TSA would pick Mission to Mars as the topic for website design this year?
Probably just for that. It is huge. Heading out to another world is really going to change the way we think and the way we do things here on Earth. And there's going to be a lot of new technological fields that are going to open up because of that. And a lot of new opportunities for you guys. Look, I've been saying this for 35 years, but we're going to Mars, all right? And we are getting closer. Now, the president says by the year 2033, I think that's a little far. We need to do it within 10 years. Politically, it has to be done within 10 years or someone's going to come in and mess things up. But eventually, we are going to have people there, and you're a great age for this. You'll have that opportunity someday to walk around on that surface if you want to, or be involved in a field that's going to put people out there on Mars. And that's kind of exciting, isn't it? To be able to say, hey, look at those people out there. No, I designed that. You see what they're riding in there? I helped design that thing. You see that innovative thing? We have a patent on that nobody else was thinking of, but we needed to have it work here. All those things are going to be important for the future, and it's going to open up all sorts of new jobs and careers. Think of if we find life on Mars. Biogenetics, oh my gosh, it's going to open up a whole new field. We may be able to grow wheat in the Arctic after we figure out how life can survive in a really cold environment like Mars. So all sorts of new things can happen. So that's what it's all about. It's all about looking up.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to have you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.